Peace and prosperity. Welcome back to the Wolves Den operating sector. Last video we mapped structural blueprint dimensions. Now it's time to execute the reverse loop, mechanical assembly, paired with FMEA and live fire functional verification. I want to give two major shout outs before we do this video. First, to my beautiful baby girl Jody. Happy solar return, baby. Bye-bye, can't wait to see you. Second, to the 100 subscribers we finally reached after such a long journey of getting this operation together. Now, without further ado, let's continue. As you can see, there is no live ammo on the workbench, plus my micro AK47 is disassembled to the second echelon. No cartridge can be fired from this system in its current state. I will adjust the camera angle so y'all all at home watching can see the strategic details of assembling this weapon system. All right, moving forward, how we reassemble any firearm, you operate in reverse order in which you took it apart. So first, you're gonna drop the hammer back in. You wanna squeeze this side of the spring, or whichever side that you are manual running. Line it up with the retaining pin hole. Next, apply the hammer and trigger retaining pin. Make sure, in every country, this pin can look a lot different depending on who manufactured the system. So it's always mindful to get aftermarket retaining pins so that way you can be more functional with your system. So you go through the magazine well, keep it close to the frame. You want to make sure you hook this pin around the base of the hammer. Stay there, don't you move. We start by dropping this trigger and hammer assemblies back into our 39,000 sheet metal. Managing these braided tensions is very strategic and critical for this firing operating system. You need to manage the controlled deceleration of the movement as we discussed in my previous video. If you let this hammer spring slip under preload, it will launch itself into a low earth orbit or even smack you right across the knuckles or the eye. That's why we keep the rubber band tight on. Use a little flashlight to help me. Yep. All right. Now, as you can see, that retaining pin is clenched around the receiver and the hammer simultaneously. So now we can go ahead and put the trigger housing back in. So the trigger housing may be a little more strenuous to put in, so purposely because it's at one hell of an angle and you gotta insert it under pressure. So first and foremost, you wanna release some of the pressure so that way you can have an easier task of inserting said firing pin, said retaining pin, my apologies. I'm gonna use punch to press it downward. Yeah, it's a lot easier. Okay. Okay, that's there. Get my light back rolling so we can make sure I'm putting shit in together the right way. Okay. Now here comes the tedious part because you gotta get this notch inside the system so this pin in there can catch it. Okay. Okay, we lined up. Give her a little tap. And boom. But the job's not done because as you can see, that retaining pin is not perfectly aligned with the notch. There it is. See how it's not aligned with the notch and not flush to the system? So this is where your brass spike comes into play. Now you can see that retaining pin is flush to the system. all lined up. Now you want to slowly but surely remove this rubber band and go one arm at a time. Be careful, drive it home slowly, because these motherfuckers will smack you. Okay. Boom. Now do a small functions check. Drive the hammer to the rear. And she's functioning properly. Now you want to reinstall your pistol grip the appropriate way. Make sure you don't put it in backwards. The easiest way to reinstall the pistol grip is this way, surely. You're gonna hold it like such. Drive it up. Feed it through the hole. Just like that. Maintain control of the weapon system. Get her nice and tight. Voila. Close that. Now reinstall safety level. And to ensure she works, put the weapon on safe. Pull the trigger. Back on fire. Now we can move forward to the easiest part of the reassembly. Place the bolt back in the bolt carrier group. I like to just do it this way, let gravity do its thing. Simple enough. Get the buffer block. Without the buffer block, this weapon will not operate properly. Recoil spring back into the system. Boom, boom, boom. And the easiest way to apply the dust shield, make sure you align it with the grooves in the front. Now you're gonna look like this in the back. Voila. Now, before we introduce live propellant, a professional gunsmith runs a predictive failure mode and effect analysis. We mathematically evaluate potential mechanical failures, their downstream effects, and how to mitigate them before they become an emergency. Let's look at two critical failure modes for this specific build. Failure mode 1. If the interior retaining clip or the shepherd's hook is slightly warped or out of tolerance, the downstream effect is catastrophic. Under violent recoil, the trigger access pins will walk completely out of the system. This shifts the sear engagement angles, introducing an unprogrammed hammer release or total trigger freeze. Failure mode 2, improper hammer spring leg and placement. If a leg of that braided spring slips off the trigger shoulder, the trigger pull weight drops unevenly, resulting in severe light primer strikes and failures to fire. We mitigate this by using proper trigger pull gauges to verify a consistent specified break across multiple diagnostic cycles before heading to the firing line. Now we move to a functional verification. This is where the abstract blueprint theory faces the ultimate pressure test. We are verifying the performance of the exact 135 thou gas port measured in my previous video. We load the system to maximum capacity and execute rapid fire strings. We closely monitor the ejection trajectory and the case health. If our gas system balance is perfect, empty casing should eject cleanly at a consistent 2 to 4 o'clock angle. We then conduct a detailed forensic sweep of the spent brass casings. We are inspecting the primer pockets and case heads for signs of extreme overpressure, such as cratered primers or torn rims. If the brass is pristine and the bolt locks back smoothly, it proves our mechanical tolerances, head spacing, and gas volume calculations are completely unified. So let's do a quick functions check. Sergeant handle to the rear, weapon on safe, should not fire. Weapon on fire, pull the trigger, weapon fires. We rack the weapon as if a round was just dispensed, release the trigger, listen for the clunk. And we're gonna do another 3 to ensure that a rapid fire scenario will be sufficient on the firing line. costs more than 3, but it's always good to be certain rather than curious. I will now adjust the camera angle so we can further conclude the video. Ultimately, combining discipline reassembly with a predictive FMEA ensures we catch mechanical liabilities at the workbench rather than facing a catastrophic failure downrange. We verify the physics, protect the structural integrity of our assets, and keep our community secure. Thank you for your time and attention. Keep your tools sharp, your tolerances tight, and your trajectory true. Godspeed.